guys, welcome to the next episode of The Next Pod. Today, I'm with the next guest, Atias.
Hi.
And as you can see, unfortunately, we don't have Barbara today since she had to deal with some personal issues. However, next time she obviously will be here with us. So, Atias, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Atias, Atias Gendreau. I am Swiss Indonesian Swedish, and I'm 25 years old. And I'm fucking gay. No, I'm just kidding. Can we edit that out? And I live in Den Haag.
Yes, so as you can see, he has lots of different backgrounds, cultural backgrounds. That's why we've been also thinking it would be an amazing idea to talk a little bit about this. Because as we know, and we also mentioned in our previous episodes, The Hague and the Netherlands in general is one of the most international countries in Europe. So here we can actually meet lots of people with different places and mix the cultures, get a little bit get a little bit more knowledge about it. So maybe you could also tell us a little bit about where you've been living before, like as you mentioned, about all of those places and where you felt the most comfortable and what are the differences and why The Hague?
Okay, yeah. So my mom used to work for this Swiss NGO that would protect people in different countries against governmental abuse and all these kinds of things. So we would always live in less developed countries. Every 3 or 4 years we would change countries. So I've lived in Switzerland, Indonesia for sure, then China, Laos, Mali as well. Did a couple years in France, but that was my studies. And now I'm in Den Haag because I studied ballet and I found a job here professionally before COVID.
Oh.
And then COVID happened, everything changed. So I decided to still stay in Den Haag because if I look at the different countries I've been in, and for my own personal feeling, I do feel like the Netherlands is quite open-minded to everything, and I feel like I can do my own personal research because, of course, when you live in countries that are less developed and where the society is less advanced, and you have more inequalities, and you have, for example, in Indonesia, although people are nice, like racism is still a big thing there. The LGBTQ community is not at all recognized as, kind of want to erase us. Even in France, I had quite some troubles walking down the streets and etc. But it's true that in the Netherlands, I've been insulted only once in the streets, so that was quite a big change for me. So I decided to stay.
Yeah, so also how long have you been in The Hague, in the Netherlands in general?
This is my 4th year.
Oh, so looking at the fact that you've been here for years and only once you've been, but still, only once, it sounds
only
bad.
ones that I actually listened to.
Yes,
maybe more, but now I don't care anymore.
Yeah, but that's also terrifying for me that it's still a thing that actually people don't understand that you can just, let's say, be in love in the same gender. And that's crazy for me, how some of the people are close-minded and what is the deal with it? You know what I mean? Let's say also you mentioned in the other countries you've lived in, they were way close for that, and they couldn't, let's say, let you live your life, but it's only your life. You don't harm anybody else. So
yeah, well, because it's mankind's specialty to get involved in everybody else's business. I think, we're never going to erase these type of problems, but like you say, it shouldn't be to the point where you go out of your way to, bother someone in their life. Because most of the time I used to get bothered on the streets, but I wasn't with a guy or I wasn't with anything. I actually discovered my sexuality super late on in life. So it was really, I was just by myself.
Oh, really?
I guess they were just jealous of my looks, but, it's like...
Most likely. But yeah, so as you mentioned, you discovered it quite late. So how did your journey look like?
Of discovering my sexuality?
Yes.
Oh,
because I feel like lots of people as well might associate with it because it's still in lots of places, even in Poland, quite discriminated. Lots of people obviously they protest, go to the cities, to the streets. They want to show that lots of people are also supporting this. However, you also have this other part of the community that is not towards that, and they don't want to support it. Pretty often it's a family, pretty often it's your parents, grandparents. That's why I'm just very curious how it looked for you and how also you felt in the support side and also maybe your peers side. How did it look like for you?
Well, I remember, like, from very young, like, I used to watch Desperate Housewives, and I used to see Eva Longoria and all, but I would be more attracted to her as in, like, oh, I wish I could be that beautiful, more than as in, I wish I would have sex with that woman. But it only came, I think it was summer 2011, where I really was like, maybe I like men. I first talked about it with my sister because we were moving every 3 years.
Yes.
The one thing that we always had was each other, and I was very close with my sisters. So I told them first. They were very supportive of it. I didn't want to tell my brothers and my parents at first, but then I ended up talking to my mom about it. She said, "Let me talk to your dad," which I was like, "Please." And
Do it for me.
exactly. So the women in my family were very acceptant of it. They had a harder time with the men, especially with my father.
Yes.
But it's also because he had like a really hard Indonesian education when he grew up, and I mean I knew he was gonna accept it eventually. It is in my name. My name means that I'm the son of Tigno and Anne-Sophie. So I can, at a certain point, I looked at him. I was like, if you're not gonna accept me, then I'm gonna have to change my name. But I like my name, so I just knew he needed time, and so I gave him the time. He took time for himself, you know, to get over it, and I took time for myself without having the pressure of always wanting to make my father proud and trying to fit into this image of the son he wanted me to be.
Yes.
Because I did. When it comes to Indonesia, I did everything wrong from the day I was born. I was born in my house, so not necessarily in a hospital. I'm not sure if that really matters. But then I'm left-handed, so being left-handed in Indonesia is really, really bad. It's also a sign of it's very disrespectful to use your left hand for a lot of things.
Really?
Yeah, if I were to give you something, you need to take it with the right hand. If you take it with the left, it's disrespectful because they say the left hand is the hand that's used to wipe your butt.
Okay.
So I was left-handed, and then all my cousins were playing football. I decided to dance, and you know, and now it's like all of a sudden I'm gay. So I knew it was a lot for my father. So I just told him, listen, I don't need the Indonesian side of the family to know. I just want you to be okay with it. I just want you to stop asking me when I'm gonna bring a girl, and I mean, and every 3 years we change countries, so that also means that for people I was very used to adapting to new groups and finding your way. But yeah, I'm really glad that I was this close with the women in my family because they were just amazing.
No, I also feel like you've been quite lucky in terms of that because you at least received at the beginning quite a big support exactly from your woman's side of the family, and you knew that even if it would happen that the male side wouldn't be that happy about it, then you still would have some kind of support, and they would back you up, and they would still protect their brother, which is so lovely.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I really felt like shit, and it really created a lot of conflicts between my parents to the point that they almost divorced. So of course you feel like you're like, oh yeah, I'm the reason.
Yes, which
but I mean,
the kid never should feel like this.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, like I said, people need time. Good things take time, which is also why I love taking care of plants, because really, just because they don't talk to you, in a year or 2 or 5.
Yes. You just really have to need the patience.
You got to do what's good for you. And ultimately, he wanted what was best for me, and he saw that I was very happy, and that I'm taking care of myself.
And that's the most important thing, yes. And if it comes to also because you mentioned that we don't have to say about it to the Indonesian part of the family. So have you later on, do they know, or you just decided, okay, it's just our stuff, we don't really need to share with it, or?
I mean, I hardly see my Indonesian family. I see you more than I see them.
Okay.
It's like
yes.
My cousins in Bali, of course, they're in Bali and they're super chill, more open-minded. Their mom is also American, so they do have this little background mix as well, like us. They know, and they're completely okay with it.
Yeah, okay.
But the rest of the Indonesian family, I just have close to no connection at all with them. I do hold good memories, but I think as we grew up, it's just And it's also, I'm tired of, if I'm going to spend time with you, I don't want to think back of all the lies I said and what life
yeah.
you think I have and how am I supposed to keep up. Like,
Exactly, and
then
you're
I'd
not
rather
always.
not see you.
Yeah.
And then, you
Yeah.
live your life, I live my life. We're both happy. Nobody has to lie. And
Exactly. And especially since you have quite a big family, as we can hear, I feel like also, especially with more extended family, you don't have really that, usually not such a close connection, because if you would supposed to have like keep up with everybody's life, it also is quite difficult. I feel like I come from very, very small family. I don't have any brothers or sisters, and I don't really know my further cousins, because we never also hold this close family connection. So I only have like my closest family with whom I have like very nice connections, and the rest, they're like, not really like strangers for me. So exactly as you mentioned, it's like I more often share anything or see people from my work or school rather than actually my, let's say, extended family.
yeah.
It happens, and it's perfectly normal as well. That's why also I would like to give a message that pretty often we feel a pressure that we have to, let's say, spend time with a family because they're a family. We have to be close with the family because of their family. However, pretty often people who are just your friends are more a family to you than your own family. And this is also very crucial to remember, because I feel like often people, young people especially, tend to try to keep up to standards of a family members and what they want you to be, and then when you're trying to either have like different hobbies, different career path, even tattoos or whatever else, and they can kind of threaten you that like then this is not what they wanted, then they're not really, like for me, a part of the family, because they're not supportive, and the
Of
family should be
course.
loving and supportive, and that's a sign of family. So usually
you
friends
have
are closer.
exactly. You have the family. We adopted my little brother and sister, and it also I really understood that family is not the blood, and your relationship with your family should be treated just as any relationship with anybody else. You can have a
Exactly.
toxic relationship with your boyfriend, and then what you do, you break up to save yourself.
Exactly.
And it's the same with the family. So of course you cannot just all of a sudden break up with your dad and then he's not your dad anymore.
Yeah.
But you can learn to distance yourself and be like, okay, this is just my dad, and it's
Exactly.
maybe his way of doing things is toxic, or maybe her way of doing things is toxic. But like it shouldn't, like yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't feel
Toxic
forced
family
to
is
have
toxic,
a
yeah.
feel connection,
Exactly.
right? You can sit at the table during Christmas, have like a chit chat, and you don't have to see themselves like for another year if you feel like they're not good for you. So it's perfectly
Exactly.
normal, guys. Like you don't
And
have to worry.
yeah, a lot of friends like, oh, do you wish you had another dad, or and I was like, well, I mean, that's a stupid question. It's
Yeah, it's never
no
wishing
answer
about.
is gonna change that he's my dad.
Exactly, and also is the thing like everything is like assigned to us from somewhere. Like I don't really believe in God, but like everything is for a reason. And I feel like even if you suffered when you were younger or in your life, or maybe you had quite shitty parents because it happens, or like you didn't have a family at all, it was very tough. But I feel like it teaches you a lot, and you can only gain strength from that if you allow yourself to do so. And also it can only let you be a better person if you also allow you to do so, because you either can have the same circle and behave in the same way as your parents if they didn't treat you correctly, or you can change it into the strength and be a better parent in the future, or maybe don't have a kids
Exactly.
and like just show your support in any other way, charities, or maybe you will devote yourself to work and be an amazing worker, whatever else it should be. But yeah, pretty often people stick to the traumas they've had, and they think like, okay, I had a shitty life and this is how it should be, and they don't see like the opportunities from that. Like, okay, you survived it. You have maybe horrible few years of your life when you were a kid. I don't know, sleepless nights, this and that, abusive parents, whatever else it was. But you can only gain strength from it and be like, okay, I will never be like this, and I
No,
will do
of
good for the
course.
society.
And I mean, ultimately, I think parents learn more from their kids than the kids learn from the parents. If I'm just looking at my little brother and sister, and the way because we get older, there's a bigger age gap difference between me and them than me and my big sister, for example. And it's the same for my dad. Like I said, his whole life, he came from this small Indonesian village, and then he met my mom. There was this Swiss and Swedish woman, you know, so that was traveling everywhere. So his whole life was him learning how to open his mind and his heart to a lot of different things.
Yes.
And when the whole thing happened with me, like I said, I just knew he needed time.
Exactly.
Because the thing is that when you are a kid and you go through things, you just go through them, and you're just like, oh, okay, whatever. And then, you know, you become an adult, and then you start to have the critical thinking of, oh, why am I acting like this? Why am I reacting? What happened then? So I do think that, yeah, parents learn more than from their kids than the kids from the parents.
Yes.
The kids will learn from the parents later on in life.
Of course.
Like, you know, so regardless of, you know, the parents you have, the relationship you have, I mean, they're still as clueless as you are. Just like us, like, oh, at 25 I'm gonna be this farmer in Hollywood. I'm not at all a farmer in Hollywood. Like, you know, you just learn so much all the time. But the older you get, the more critical thinking you get.
No, I perfectly agreed with that, and especially with the fact of parents learning more when they have a kid. Because let's say I'm 20 and I could have a kid. Like, maybe not right now, but like if it happened, probably I would keep it. But at the same time, like I'm just 20. I barely know what to do in life. I don't know what to do in life at all. So like I would have to learn everything, you know, regarding the kid. And technically, obviously, I have the ways I would like to raise them. But at the same time, would it work? I don't know. Probably I wouldn't be always patient. I wouldn't be always like, you know, like raising them in a way I would perfectly like to do, because it's very difficult. And probably with years and maybe them saying something, I would be like, oh, maybe I should approach it in a different way. Maybe I should let them be more free, or maybe be a little bit more strict. So exactly, you just learn while having
exactly. And we mentioned critical thinking, but it's also, like you say, you're talking about having a kid. Is it going to work? Is it the right time? That's all critical thinking. But sometimes when we're adults, it gets to the point that we actually don't do anything else because we have so many unanswered questions. So you just don't want to take the risk of doing anything else. So, you know, when it comes to kid and etc., I don't think there is actually a right time. I don't think there isn't. I wouldn't say never, but there is a lot of times where there isn't a right time to do something. It's just you got to feel it, and you got to, you know, follow your heart, which is important. Which is why it's very important to surround yourself with people that, you know, put you in a good mood, and try to, you know, I wouldn't say that surround yourself with people that suppress negativity and suppress bad feelings, but with people that, you know, acknowledge when you're feeling bad, and then help you get through it, or give you tools, you know, because
just be supportive as well.
Exactly. I have some friends, you know, they're like sometimes happy all the time, and they're like always in a good mood, and I love that about them. But there are some times where I'm just like, it's fake.
Yeah, because it's impossible to always have a positive emotions.
And when somebody is smiling all the time, I'm really like, what?
Yeah, what is behind the curtain?
Like, you're depressed.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if somebody is smiling constantly, I'm just really like, I'm curious. I'm just like, that's not true. It cannot be.
Yeah. I agree fully. Because at the beginning also, let's say, of working, because we were working together, guys, and when I started working in Mingelmash in The Hague, I also, when I started getting to know people, I always wanted to be portrayed as someone who is like very open and smiley and this and that, because you're new, so obviously you want to create this perfect picture of yourself. But after some time I was like, man, I don't always have an amazing day. And like it's perfectly normal to also like share with it, you know, if you just come to, obviously maybe not with the clients, right? If you're depressed and you're just like, you know, like something happened, I had a bad grade, to the customer, they would be like, I don't really care. But, you know, to your coworkers, let's say, like, if you had a downfall, if you really feel bad and you need like 5 minutes to just do it for yourself, it's better to do that rather than always pretend and hold it inside and then one day completely.
Yeah, to me it's all about acknowledgement. I have a hard time with acknowledgement in my life, and I a lot of time felt like I was being put on the side, or you know, I was being lessened for something. But it's really all about acknowledgement. And like you say, some days you feel bad, just acknowledge it. You feel like shit, that's okay. It's just one day, and move on from the situation. The same if you have an anxiety attack, like I learned very recently to deal with it, and just like acknowledge it. It's there.
Yes.
You know, you say hi to it, and then you move on from it. It's not suppressing it and putting it to the side and being like, oh, I'm at work, oh, I have to do all these things, oh, I have to look cute, oh, Instagram. You know, it's just acknowledge things around you, acknowledge the people, the feelings, the things. And I think that's ultimately the biggest problem we have in today's world is that we have access to so much things, so much information. You can talk to anybody, you can, but it's just there is absolutely no acknowledgement for so many things, and it leads us to the situation we are in right now.
Exactly. Just kind of, I feel like through social media as well, which is one of the social media. What is it? But by this, I feel like it creates, obviously, for lots of people, this fake image of always having amazing life, being rich, being skinny, being this, being that, being smiley, and that's why later on people, tend to hold itself inside, not itself, inside their emotions, because they're scared to show that they also have weaknesses, but everyone has weaknesses. Everyone cries. That's why I love those influencers who sometimes show like the post picture from the gym and like normal picture, because obviously when you're pumped and you have like a good week, maybe you had a better diet for some time, you will look a little bit better, and then you will eat for, I don't know, a Christmas time, and you will not go to the gym for a week. You will sit down, and obviously it will be completely different. And especially, like, it connects a little bit, I feel like, with anxiety attacks and how to manage with them. Because, as you say, you have to, like, acknowledge it and let it out. Because keeping it in is the worst thing you could do with anxiety attack. Because then it just makes you feel worse and worse. And then you have even deeper anxiety attack, and then you cannot breathe, and then it's like horrible, which also was happening to me. Like when I had my first anxiety attack, I didn't know what is it. Like I just started, because I usually cry because I'm a very sensitive person. But crying is one thing, but like having the attack is like completely different. So it started with crying, and then just me ventilating. And I just couldn't like take a little bit bigger breath because of, and then I was feeling like I'm just dying, I'm literally, I sat down on the floor, I was like what should I do? Like I was completely like surprised at the same time, because I couldn't acknowledge the fact that okay, you feel bad, you don't care who is around you and how you look like in the moment. You just go outside, fresh air, sit down,
fresh air,
and then slowly, bigger breaths, slowly, and then you finally are like
of course. No, for real. Also had an anxiety attack the night I adopted a Kaida.
Kaida is a snake.
Kaida is my boa, and not the one between my legs, the other one. And she's so cute. But I started having anxiety because I was thinking of everything, like what would people around me think about me adopting this Kaida, this boa, this. And the day after, I realized how fucking stupid it was.
Yeah.
But sometimes your mind goes to things, and like you just gotta acknowledge it and just be like, okay, now I'm going stupid. So
exactly, and especially since it's your life, your your animal. Nobody else will take care of it at the end of the day. You will, and that's crazy. Like how much you cared about what others might think about it.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I was like, ultimately, she's with me. I'm gonna take care of her.
Exactly.
She's for me. She makes me feel good. You know,
and especially since like with time, you are aware that it was kind of maybe like stupid, but at the certain moment, sometimes small issues or maybe not even issues seem like it's such a big deal.
Exactly.
So also it's perfectly normal to maybe a little bit over exaggerate, but later on, just sit down and maybe write down even your thoughts, and then when you read it, you're like, oh, maybe it doesn't really.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, at the end of the day, we're just in this blob of earth that's floating in emptiness, and the emptiness keeps on getting bigger, and it just doesn't make any sense.
So just do whatever you like in life.
Bigger, for infinity. But talking about acknowledgement, like moving every 3 years of a country was really a blessing, but it's also a curse in a way. And growing up now, for example, it's my 4th year here.
Yes.
And I'm kind of like, oh, it's been long. Like I want to move on, and also like. Moving countries all the time would also mean making new friends all the time, but it also means that losing friends also as well. But that's part of I guess part of life. Well. I guess I have a pretty weird view on death, but no, the point was that I put myself on the side because there was all these parts of me that I was afraid of talking to. So it was all for my friends that was in the country. And then there's a lot of subjects or things that would bother me or things that happened that I wouldn't mention because I was like, oh, well, in a year I'm gone. So, I just put it on the side for a year, and then, it's new country, new people, new starts. And that I only realized very, very like during COVID, I guess, that it was really, really toxic because it's a blessing moving, but it was a curse because now socially I sometimes have a hard time confronting people on things that matter. I have a hard time, the option of just being like, oh, I can just change country and start again.
Yeah.
Like, it's now I want to start settling down.
Yes, and definitely
so it's changing the habits
yeah.
and changing how you see things and how you've been dealing with things for such a long time.
Yeah. But definitely saying that, oh, I will move out, so it doesn't really matter, shouldn't be the reason why you didn't share with your emotions, because, okay, maybe in a year I will move out. But at the same time, a year you have to struggle with just having this maybe negative approach towards someone or feeling bad because someone did something to you and they didn't even acknowledge that something like this happened, and you just keep it inside, but like, okay, it will pass.
No,
but
of course. And what I realized also, not expressing how you feel to the person in front of you is not nice to them at all, actually, because they cannot guess what you're feeling. They cannot guess how they make you feel, or how you're translating what they're saying or things like this. So just saying nothing to them and pretending like it's all right is really, really mean, because then they don't have the chance to fix it. So they never get the chance to know actually what's going on and make it right.
Yeah,
and
some people maybe will not use it.
Care. Exactly.
Yeah.
Some people will not care, but there's
but others
a lot
will
of
like
times
also overthink, and maybe they will notice that you felt certain way, but you will never say about it. You'll be like, it's all right. They will be overthinking, like, okay, but what have I done? Because he says it's all right, but it wasn't all right. And this kind of overthinking pretty often I also have, especially with my significant other, like when I feel like something changed and he's
You
like...
have a boyfriend?
Yeah, I have a boyfriend. Sorry, I did break your heart now. But that's the thing with him, like, when his mood changes, even not about me, but whatever else, and he's like, everything is all right, but I know it's not. Then I'm thinking, oh, maybe that's me, or maybe that's this, maybe like whatever. And then at the end of the day, I just found out it was something about job or something else that was completely not important.
Yeah.
He just for a second felt worse. But in my head, for 2 hours, I was like playing different scenarios, like what if I did something incorrectly. So exactly like sharing both ways, like, okay, what do you feel, and giving them feedback, and then maybe they're saying, oh, they didn't know, they weren't aware.
Yeah, exactly.
It's way better.
I mean, if you're expecting help, you gotta give help. Like, you gotta help someone help you ultimately.
Yes.
That's just how it works.
Exactly.
It's like if you there was a moment you thought that I didn't like you, but then I never knew.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, recently, she's like, "Oh, I thought you didn't like me," and I was like, "I don't." No, but then we talked about it, and and you understood that it actually, actually, you're one of my favorite colleagues that I have. So yeah, it's her, she's in her head thinking I hate her, and then I'm like, my hatred is actually love. So
yeah, that's why, guys, it's also very, very crucial to share with your emotions and to share with your opinions and to see what other things. And if you have completely different ways and approaches towards life, then it's not your person. So if I feel like it's way better to, like, on early stage realize, okay, like, we are completely different, rather than without having a conversation, trying to be close to each other, trying to maintain the relationship. It doesn't matter if it's friendship or relationship, like loving relationship, it doesn't really matter, or even family relationship. Again, sometimes you're completely different, and it doesn't matter if you love this person or not, because after some time you might realize, oh, you don't have anything to talk about.
Exactly. I mean, life changes all the time, and it's like
we are changing every day. We are different people every day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, nothing is really that big of a deal. Like there was this Sadhguru actually once heard. I heard him the first wave of COVID, when everything fell apart in my life, and he said, isn't it amazing that if there is no purpose in life, all there is left to do is live? Yeah. And to me, that's exactly it. We tend to sometimes make such big deals out of things and make such problems, and it's like it doesn't really matter, does it? And if you just think about where you were 2 years ago, and it's like 2 years ago I was still ballet dancing, and when I think about it now, I'm so glad I stopped. But back then, I could sacrifice anything for dancing, and so you're constantly going to change, and nothing is that big of a deal, and feelings you feel right now maybe are going to be so different in years forward, and you're going to be like, oh, I was so stupid, what was I wearing,
which later doesn't make sense at all. Like, okay, you went with the toilet paper if you're in your pants, maybe throughout the whole city, but like people will forget about that because they have their own problems, because everyone is in their own bubble, and at the end of the day you shouldn't care about what other things. And as well, just don't be afraid of changes. And I also heard one quote from a movie, and it was like, if you don't want to die, don't be afraid to live. And this is like literally it hit me so much, because that's the thing. Like you shouldn't be afraid of change, because change is the biggest part of your life, and everything will be changing constantly. And
I mean, thank God for change.
Right?
Can you imagine we were still living in
Just
the
take it-
1800s? Like,
yeah, that would be horrible. But I feel like we're kind of coming back to those times. But that's also another thing.
une vie soupçonnée. Yeah, things
Yeah,
come back, but they
right.
come back, but it's slightly
Yeah.
deeper into it.
Yeah, but if
so-
it comes to our personal lives, when let's say you want something to be changed in your life, let's say you're not satisfied with how much you earn, let's say, and then you're getting fired from your job, and then you're so sad that you got fired, but like you wanted a change, so something is giving you the opportunity to switch. So this is the moment not to be sad about it, to be like, okay, so what else can I do if that wasn't for me? So it's switching the perspective. So exactly, the change is a positive thing. If you don't have a connection with someone anymore, that means they weren't for you. So one day you will have someone who will be for you. Also with work, with school. If, I don't know, you're completely not dealing with school, maybe it's just not your thing. Maybe you need a break. Maybe you just are not meant to, be in the university. Because it
Yeah,
also
we're all in
happens.
the same shit.
Right.
When we were, at school, and you're like, oh, I wish I could be an adult. It's on you. I'm asking all my parents these questions, like, oh, how did you know that you guys were the one for each other? You don't.
never know.
You don't.
We never
you
know.
just figure it out along the way, and then yeah.
And that's
That's
the
how it
main
is.
message from from the video today. Because exactly, you, as I mentioned even in the previous episode, that you should just embrace the change and embrace whatever's
Exactly.
happening
You
in your
take the
life.
first path, or you take the
next path. Exactly. That's such a beautiful thing. Yeah. So this is how we will end up this episode. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.
Thank
if you
you,
have
guys.
any comments and any reflections towards any of the topics that we mentioned today, let us know in the comments. Hit the like and subscribe button as well. And yeah, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.